All right, and welcome everyone to It's Time to Excel. I am so grateful to be here and to have you guys joining us today. For those of you that are popping in live, don't forget to drop into the comments and at least share with us because we do like to have some interaction as much as possible. But I am so blessed to have my friend here, Lindsey Reedy, and she is going to be talking about a really interesting topic, especially for those small business owners. And this is a topic that I know personally I've come across many times as I've been talking. I have the advantage of being in HR and payroll for over 20 years. So this makes a little bit more sense to me, but I have learned too often, way too often, it confuses everyone. And there's some significant issues when that happens. So I want to welcome back to our show here is Lindsey Reedy. Why don't you tell them a little bit about you, and then we're going to jump into this topic and drive some people crazy. How's that sound?
Of course. Thank you again for having me, Janet. My name is Lindsey Reedy, and I currently work as a startup and business attorney with Hill Law, now located in Raleigh, North Carolina. So we help entrepreneurs with a variety of legal services, ranging from helping you start up your business and grow your business to eventually helping you implement your exit strategy. So I had spoken with Janet about this topic. This is an issue that I frequently see small business owners struggle with because it's such a fine line between how you treat your workforce as an employee versus an independent contractor. So, Jana, I'm looking forward to shedding some light on this subject today.
Absolutely. And as I said, this is a really important topic because so many of, it's how do you excel in business if this one can come back and bite you? And it can bite very, very hard. And honestly, if you're not, really understanding a lot of it, there's some different, as I said, there's a lot of penalties involved. There's a lot of really very strong, penalties and fines and things like that, that if this isn't classified right, and it's like, well, what difference does it make? So that's why I'm glad that you're joining us here today and having that opportunity to kind of, one, understand the difference between them and how that works so that they can get those classifications correctly and move forward so that they can excel. So let's jump right on into it.
Okay, perfect. So the way I'm going to walk everyone through this is kind of how I walk my clients through it. So based on questions that I frequently get, and so we'll start with, how is an employee versus an independent contractor treated differently? Essentially, why does it matter? So the way that an employee is treated differently from an independent contractor is that the employer will have to doesn't have to pay unemployment insurance taxes or social security taxes or Medicare taxes. And you also, for independent contractors, you also don't have to withhold income taxes. And so there's some tax differences here. The Wage and Hour Act also does not apply to independent contractors. So what this means is there's no minimum wage requirements, there's no overtime requirements, there's no vacation requirements. And so your responsibilities as a business owner when it pertains to independent contractors are going to be significantly less versus if you have a workforce full of employees. And so just understanding this difference is incredibly important to prevent your business from being liable for all of these unpaid taxes, which we'll get into a little later.
Perfect. Perfect. So hopefully that gives a better chance because we want to arm these small business owners and put the right tools in the tool belt. So
Exactly.
how do we
And
figure this out? That's our next question.
exactly. So that's the next question. So, okay, we know they're treated differently, but how do I know what they are? So when you're hiring someone into your workforce, there are a variety of different tests that different agencies, different states, things of that nature uses. However, a common test used in North Carolina are called the Haze Factors. Now, I've listed them on the screen. There are a variety of different factors that can be broken down into how much financial control does this person have? How much behavioral control does this person have? We can walk through those, and if you have any questions, Janet, or if anyone wants to comment any questions, I'm more than happy to explain these factors, but I will give an example after we walk through these. So The first factor is this person engaged in an independent business, calling, or occupation? Does this person have a business outside of what they're doing for your business? So, for example, a plumber, they're not coming in to be engaged in a plumbing business. If we're talking about what we're going to talk about in our next example, for example, if you own a barbecue business, this person is coming in to fix a problem. They have their own occupation, they have their own business. And so that factor would weigh in favor of them being treated as an independent contractor. Now, the next factor that's considered by the courts is, does this person have an independent use of his or her special skill, knowledge, or training outside of what they do for you? The next is this someone that you're paying on an hourly basis, or are they getting paid a fixed lump sum to do the work that you're requiring of them? So, for example, if you come in and have someone, you hire an outside graphic designer who is going to design your logo for your business. This is typically not someone you're going to pay on an hourly rate. It's going to be a fixed lump sum for this said logo or whatever work you're asking them to do. So that factor would weigh in favor of them being treated as an independent contractor. The next factor is this someone that is subject to discharge for their method of work? When you have an independent contractor that's working in your business, ultimately, you don't care how they do what they're doing. You just want to make sure that the end result is correct. Now, with an employee, you're going to dictate exactly how they get to that end result. And so that's the difference in this factor. The next is this someone that's in the regular employ of your business? Is this someone that's coming into work every day at your business? Or is this someone that comes in every once in a while when you have a problem that needs to be addressed? This factor, you're really looking at how often are they in the business, kind of what is their involvement in the business, and that determines whether this factor weighs in favor of an employee versus an independent contractor. Now, the next is this person free to hire their assistants? So, for example, I have a bilingual legal assistant at our firm. She allows us to serve the Spanish-speaking community, but she does not have the freedom to go and hire assistants to assist her. So that would weigh in favor of her being an employee. Also, if we're talking about this person having an assistant, is this someone that was hired by the business to assist you? Or is this someone that you brought in as an outside source to assist you with your work? And do you have control over what they're doing? So say you hire a painter to come in and paint the walls of your business, and they bring an assistant with them to help with the work. This person is likely going to be considered an independent contractor, the painter, because he can bring in his own assistant and he can dictate what that assistant does or does not do. And then the last and considered to be one of the more important factors is, does this person select his or her own time? So what I mean by this is this person scheduled by you to come in and work at your business? Or are they sending you a text or giving you a call saying, hey, this is when I'm available to come in and get this problem fixed, get this project done, etc. So that will be indicative of whether this person is considered to be an independent contractor or an employee.
So taking a look at that, and thank you, Kim, for joining us. We have Kim with us, and she's pointing out too, it is so important to know the difference between, and she's giving you kudos as well because she also does you as well, and you are definitely an expert in your field. So when we're looking at all these questions, do they have to hit every single one of them?
No, so that's why they're considered factors. So all of these factors don't have to be satisfied for this person to be considered an employee versus an independent contractor. So what the court is going to look like if your business is sued for potential misclassification issues is they're going to say, are a majority of these factors satisfied that this person should have been treated as an employee versus an independent contractor? The way the court states it is you're looking at a totality of the circumstances. We're looking at when this happened, how this happened, the climate around it, a variety of different facts that will impact the ultimate determination.
But on a whole, by taking a look at these questions, if the majority of these are what we just talked about and what you just shared with everyone, then that helps guide whether or not it's an employee or the independent contractor. Because I know that does really so much get confusing.
It gets very confusing, and that's why I have frequently told our clients, when you first bring on a person into your workforce, call me. Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation on what that should look like. Should this person be treated as an employee? If so, here are the things you need to be doing. If not, right, and you want to treat them as an independent contractor, here are the things you should be doing. A conversation, a simple conversation with an attorney before you're bringing someone on can save you. It can make a world of a difference, and I'll actually talk about that in a few more slides about the consequences if you misclassify.
Awesome, wonderful. Well, let's continue down then. Let's see what other questions you can share some light. There's the plumber and the barbecue.
Yes. So like I mentioned in the previous slide when we were walking through the factors, I want to give a real world example because I feel like when you're looking at those factors, it can be very abstract on how they should actually be applied. So let's walk through an example. Say you're an entrepreneur who owns a barbecue business. You make barbecue and you have clients come in daily. You have cooks and things of that nature that are in on a daily basis. But unfortunately, one day your sink springs a leak and all of a sudden your floor is flooded. You have to call a plumber. You need them to come in immediately. It's a problem that needs to be addressed. Now, the plumber is a little tougher to classify than the cook. So we'll start with the cook. The cooks that are coming in on a daily basis, the factors that are going to weigh in favor of them being an employee are significantly more than them weighing in favor of being an independent contractor. For example, like I said, this is someone that's coming in on a daily basis and typically only works for your restaurant. This is someone who is getting paid on an hourly wage, and the hours that they're working are likely being dictated by you. Your manager or yourself is setting the schedule for the cook to come in and do his or her job. This is not someone that can go out and hire assistants by themselves. You would be incredibly frustrated if they brought in an assistant without clearing that with you. And this is someone who, if you do hire an assistant for them, you ultimately would be in charge of those assistants. So the cook is most likely going to be considered an employee and should be treated as such. Now back to the plumber. This is the person who's coming in to fix this terrible leak that is causing your business to lose customers. And this plumber, the reason we're going to treat him as an independent contractor is as follows. This is someone who owns his own business. He doesn't work for the barbecue restaurant. He goes and addresses problems at multiple businesses, but he ultimately has his own. This is someone who has been called in for one incident. This isn't someone who's coming in on a daily basis. And this is someone who likely is going to send you an invoice at the end of his work after he's addressed the problem. That will likely be a lump sum, not something paid on an hourly basis. And then additionally, this is someone who can hire their own assistants, much like the painter we recently talked about. He'll be able to bring in someone to help him address the leak. And you ultimately come in and say to his assistant, I don't want you doing this. This should be done this way. He is going to have ultimate control over that assistant. And then lastly, while you may, as the business owner, have some control of when he comes in and works, for example, saying, I've got free time between 8 and 10 for you to come in and fix this leak. This is what I need it done by. But ultimately, he's going to get to decide when he comes in. And so it's not going to be on a scheduled shift like your cook would. So that's a practical, real-world example of an employee versus independent contractor. Now, complete transparency, it's not this often, this cut and dry. There are a lot of gray areas, which is why there is a significant amount of litigation surrounding these classification issues. But if you speak with an attorney before you bring someone on, like I said, this is something we're familiar with. We're familiar with what the courts are saying on what it should look like. And so we can save you from potential consequences you would face based on a misclassification issue, like I said, that we'll talk about in a later slide.
Which is perfect. And I think that's what a great point is. There's a lot of gray areas, especially with small business owners.
There
So,
are.
I do a lot of times bookkeeping. Yeah. Is the bookkeeper an employee or not? Well, a lot of it depends. Well, if I'm doing it for multiple clients, well, that shifts me more to an independent contractor. But if I'm only working for one client, that may shift me to employee and I'm doing the exact same job. So
Exactly.
I think that's where some of that confusion comes in.
There are many gray areas, and there's many gray, not professions, but just roles. So like you were just saying, for bookkeepers, it can be a very gray area. And it's something you want to make sure you're doing correctly. So just a few more examples that I want to walk through just to provide even more of a clear picture of what an independent contractor versus an employee looks like. So your independent contractors are going to be your doctors, your plumbers, dentists, lawyers, construction workers, people of this nature, tradespeople. Now, the employees are going to be people like your secretaries, your assistants, your receptionists, and ultimately people that are serving within their office. So, for example, I work at a law firm. I'm an attorney, and so I'm considered an employee of the law firm, not an independent contractor. I have a bilingual legal assistant who works for us. She is considered to be an employee. But if we needed someone to come in and fix our wall or something along that line, that would be an independent contractor. And so there's just various considerations when we're talking about the classification itself.
Perfect. Well, I think this is a great example and kind of give them a chance to kind of see what that would be, what that looks like, and kind of keep in the back of their minds.
Exactly.
As far as what is going on, where you're at. Because as small business owners, we know we can't do it ourselves. We need to bring in additional help. Funny thing, all those hats up there topple over if you're not careful. We get to do them all.
Right. The whole reason that I do these types of things is, I ultimately want to arm small business owners with enough knowledge to where they can say, hey, let's stop. We need to talk to an attorney. This could potentially be a problem area for us. And so just having these basic understandings not only will clue you in when it's time to speak with an attorney, but also when you go to speak to an attorney, you will be more knowledgeable on what they're walking you through.
And of course, in setting this up, as we always talk about, and that's why this topic is just so important, because in order to excel, we got to make sure we have those right tools in our toolbox. And one thing I think with small business owners, they're not even sure what questions to ask.
Right.
And
well,
so
it's not their
thinking about that.
Right. It's not. I think we spoke about this last time I was on your show, but it's not a small business owner's job to know these questions. It's their job to know to hire someone to ask these questions, but it's not their job to inherently know them. Their job is to offer supreme products and services and be really good at that. And then, let us step in and handle the legal side of things. So, it's kind of one of my missions to arm business owners with enough information where they know, I don't know enough to answer this question. So I'm going to reach out to someone who can help me and empower me to be, to enable my business to succeed.
Exactly. And that's why I said this has been such a great partnership, because I do that same type of a thing when it comes to money management. Let's make sure you have the right tools and let's make sure the right systems are in place to be able to do it. Numbers may not be your strength. Legal issues may not be your strength. HR may not be quite that strength of knowing, which, human resources, independent contract, bouncing back and forth. Here we are. Now we've got an opportunity. Now we have a resource to go to. So what else do you got for us here? I know these are some more examples.
So I am more than happy to walk through more examples or take any questions on what this should look like. But I do want people to understand why this matters and who will potentially be coming after you if you don't do this correctly. So there are numerous agencies who regulate the employee versus independent contractor classification. In North Carolina, our primary agency is the employee classification section with the North Carolina Industrial Commission. Now, how this works is you can have an employee or someone who knows about misclassification practices go online and they can submit a report and just give the information that they know, explain who the business is, what they think they're doing wrong, and things of that nature. You can do this by providing your name and your number and contact information, but they also provide an anonymous option, which is beneficial to people who want to address potential issues but don't want to get involved past that. And like I said, this can be done online, or you can mail in your report. So this is a very easy way if you think employees are being misclassified or treated incorrectly to get it reported and open an investigation. So a little bit about the way the North Carolina Employee Classification Section works. It was actually established back in 2017 by the Employee Fair Classification Act. The whole purpose behind this act was to prevent misclassification practices. It was allowing businesses to get ahead by foregoing paying taxes, and it was creating competition that was not healthy competition, and essentially was illegal based on these misclassification practices. So that was the whole reason this classification section came into being, was to regulate classification practices in North Carolina by businesses. Now, the classification section works alongside several other agencies. As I mentioned earlier, there are different agencies that regulate the classification issue based on what it touches. So you've got the U.S. and North Carolina Department of Labor that's involved. You've got the North Carolina Division of Employment Security and the North Carolina Department of Revenue. And eventually they all may end up getting involved in an investigation. So once those reports have been filed that we talked about on the previous slide, the classification section is going to open up an investigation into the business's practices. So they're going to send you the information that was provided to them, ask for a response. They're going to ask you questions about how you're treating your workforce, and they're going to begin investigations into it. Now, obviously, I'm not going to read through this statistic, but this has had massive impacts on the way businesses are classifying their workforce, particularly pertaining to your consequences if you misclassify. So this classification section has come in and done a wonderful job of making sure businesses are treating their employees correctly and providing them the rights that they are owed under the various laws that apply to employees instead of independent contractors.
Perfect. Okay.
Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about is what are the repercussions? So when we're talking about small businesses and when they make misclassification mistakes, there are some who genuinely just didn't know the difference. They didn't understand it. It was a mistake. But then you also have those people who are doing it purposefully as a savings strategy. Now, the ultimate issue is it doesn't matter which camp you fall into. It doesn't matter whether you did this as a mistake. It doesn't matter whether you did this on purpose. You're still going to be facing these repercussions. So we're not only talking about financial repercussions here. We're talking about public opinions, lawsuits, investigations. All of these things are going to be impacting your business. So starting with your financial,
positively either by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I mean these are very severe repercussions, and so starting with your financial repercussions. So once your misclassification practices have come into light, you're going to owe the overtime and minimum wage deficits that you hadn't paid those misclassified employees. And then on top of that, you're going to have to pay your unemployment tax contributions, and there's typically a fine affiliated with not paying those in a timely manner. And then you're also going to have to spend an extensive amount of money getting attorneys involved and potentially making a settlement offer to these employees that you misclassified to prevent it going into the court. So we're talking about severe financial distress that this would put your business under if you misclassify even just a few employees. The second part of this, yes, Yes. The second part of this is there's public opinion repercussions. So we're not only talking about financial repercussions, but we're talking about the way that the public views your business. And in today's climate, in today's society, the way that the public views your business is increasingly more important with the visibility provided by social media, news coverage, things of that nature. And so if it comes to light that you have been misclassifying your employees, you're going to get negative media coverage. And not only is that negative media coverage going to impact your business, but you're also going to have a negative impact on your workplace environment. So, for example, say you have a few employees that quit, they sue you, you settle, you still have other people that are working in your business that you need to be on your side. And they now know that you had this practice of treating people, classifying them incorrectly and not allocating the rights and the things that they were owed to them originally. So then at that point, you've got some broken trust with your workforce. It could become problematic, not only externally, but internally as well.
Wow.
And then the last repercussion that we're talking about is lawsuits and investigations. So, as I said, talking about financial repercussions, you're going to have to hire attorneys to help you negotiate potentially a settlement or help you navigate our court system. The way that COVID has impacted our court system is lawsuits are going to take years to resolve at this point. And specifically on the federal side of things, it already takes an extensive amount of time. So it's not only going to be a financial harm to your business, but your time is going to be taken up by coordinating with attorneys, talking with opposing counsel, things of that nature. And so you're not only going to have a financial constraint on your business, but also a time constraint. And as entrepreneurs, that's not something you can afford when you're running your own business.
Not at all. That's overwhelming. I mean, when you stop and think, and we wonder why the small business owners, especially who are not quite as, they're not up on this. This isn't their expertise. You pointed that out so eloquently. That's just not what their strengths are.
Right.
And this literally can really come back and completely cripple and cause businesses to fail if it's not wrapped. They don't get their arms wrapped around it, at least somewhat.
Right. Well, it's so unfortunate, right? I mean, you've got these businesses where the owners have poured their life, their savings, their hearts into this business and built it up, and sometimes made an honest mistake on how to classify their employees, and then they could potentially lose it all. And so, it's something that can be easily avoided if you speak with an attorney before you bring someone onto your workforce. It's a quick conversation. Let's sit down and figure out what their role is going to be, how much control will you have over it, and then let's make a plan on how you're going to treat them. And then it will be your job at that point to consistently treat them in that manner. So, it's an easily avoidable mistake, but it is one that is made too often, and the repercussions are severe.
And Kim brought a good point here, and thank you, Kim, for that compliment as far as helping us, because we are very passionate about helping the businesses to excel. But she has a great point. When you're posting a job posting out there, I guess I should say job posting, it needs to have the right classification in it, would it not?
Well, and to an extent, yes. I think you don't even have to truly include what a person would be classified under in the job posting, so long as the role is clear on what the expectations are. I will say, there's this odd rule in law that it's something to be aware of, that just because you put in a contract that someone is being treated as an independent contractor or someone should be treated as an employee doesn't mean that that is the end all do all. So just for example, say you sign a contract with an independent contractor, and in that contract it says this person will be considered an independent contractor. That is not the end all do all. So the court's going to look at that and say, yeah, that weighs in favor of this person being treated as an independent contractor, but look at how they were treated in all these other ways as an employee. we're going to rule this person should have been treated as an employee. So,
that big picture.
Yes, it's what's the saying I'm looking for here? It's just because, or if it quacks like a duck and acts like a duck, it's a duck.
Exactly.
If a person is acting as an employee, is being treated as an employee, you're calling them an independent contractor, that doesn't mean they're going to be
an independent contractor. They're an employee.
Exactly. So just something to keep in mind. Just because you put something in a contract pertaining to a classification, it's not always going to hold up in court.
Exactly. And so I think this really helps to get everyone kind of thinking about what that is, making sure, because you made that very valid point. It's not necessarily something you even did. You don't even realize you did it.
Right.
So now we are armed with some information, some knowledge to be able to go forward and actually make good decisions that are going to be productive for our businesses going forward. And Lindsey, there's a way to reach out to you, and I think you'll drop that information into the chat as far as when we get done here. We'll make sure that information is there for you.
Absolutely.
And that way, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to Lindsey. She'd be more than happy to at least touch base and get you pointed in the right direction. And she's an awesome little resource here to have. And, we are just so grateful that you've been willing to come in and share your time with us and really start identifying and understanding this crazy topic that small business owners are facing each and every day. So thank you, Kim, for joining us. And for those of you that play on the replay on us, make sure you join us each and every week at 11:30 because you never know what topics are coming up. And we just love to have you joining us and actually we can help you to excel going forward. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with folks? Is there any other comments that you have?
Not at this time, no. If you have any questions, even outside of the independent contractor versus employee classification, I'm always more than happy to do a phone call and answer your questions. I'm very passionate about helping small business owners. So please feel free to reach out to me at the contact information provided in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lindsey. And I know we're going to have some other topics as we go because we are just having a lot of fun to help our small business to excel going forward. Once again, remember to join us each and every Wednesday. We are here at 11:30 and various topics are out there. So have a wonderful day, everyone. And thank you for It's Your Time to Excel. Have a good one, everyone.